We usually treat the impulse to avoid work as a minor character flaw. We laugh at the strange talent human beings have for knowing exactly what matters, then immediately wandering off towards snacks, errands, and infinite scrolling. This laughter hides a serious struggle. A person can possess immense talent, real conviction, and a clear sense of calling, yet still spend days resisting the very actions that would bring those gifts into the world. It is an active conflict where intention and impulse pull in opposite directions. Standard productivity advice often fails because chronic delay is rarely a time management glitch. It is a crisis of authority. The central issue is whether a person can direct their own attention toward a goal without waiting for the pressure of a deadline or a spike in panic to do the job for them. Solving this requires a dissection of the specific forces at play: biological impulses of the nervous system, the emotional terror of being judged, and engineered distractions of modern life. The human mind operates as a messy coalition of competing interests. One part of the self makes plans and speaks the noble language of long-term goals. Another part simply wants comfort and relief from difficulty right now. In most moment-to-moment decisions, the side seeking immediate relief holds more practical power. Our nervous systems are wired to seek immediate rewards and pivot away from cognitive friction. When a task carries a long reward horizon and a distraction offers an instant payoff, the brain treats the distraction as the logical choice. Environmental factors like stress, fatigue, and overstimulation amplify this effect. In a depleted state, the brain interprets the effort required for meaningful work as a threat or a tax on its limited resources. Rational intention rarely wins in a vacuum. Biological impulse is more persuasive because present relief feels tangible, while future achievement remains abstract and distant. Beyond biology, people are often fleeing the specific emotional states attached to starting a project. The work itself is usually harmless. It is the feeling of entering the work that triggers an avoidance response. A blank document or an awkward email acts as a mirror for deep-seated fears. When meaningful work becomes tied to self-worth, it shifts from a simple task to a test of identity. The mind hesitates because it wants to avoid any moment that might prove we are less capable than we hoped. Postponing the work provides a temporary shelter for the ego. As long as the task remains unattempted, the potential version of the self stays flawless and impressive. Delay allows a person to completely avoid the messy, imperfect truth of where their skills actually stand right now. Procrastination functions as a highly effective emotional defense mechanism. It prioritizes the short-term safety of the psyche over the long-term pain of remaining stagnant. Historically, avoiding work required some degree of effort. Today, the modern environment provides an always-open doorway out of difficulty that requires zero physical or mental exertion. Behavioral engineers optimize systems to offer frictionless anesthesia when tasks feel hard, presenting distractions when you are most vulnerable. Utilizing intermittent rewards to train the mind for constant novelty, they make the steady pace of deep work feel unnatural. Individuals fight an asymmetric war. The struggle is no longer against internal hesitation, but against billion-dollar algorithms designed to monetize every second of our avoidance. Because no single day of procrastination feels like a tragedy, the cumulative cost remains hidden. One afternoon of scrolling seems harmless, but repeated over years, it functions like a slow pickpocketing of one's own existence. Inner trust is built through the repetition of kept promises. Every time a person sets an intention and then abandons it for a snack or a scroll, that internal bond weakens. Eventually, the person begins to live under a cloud of self-distrust, where they stop fully believing in their own capacity to follow through. Failure results in a reality we can learn from and metabolize. Avoidance, however, leaves life in a ghostly condition. Unattempted possibilities remain pure enough to torment the mind, because they offer no closure and no lessons, only the haunting question of what might have happened. Chronic delay ultimately reshapes the self. It replaces a life based on action and truth with an identity built on deferral, where the truest parts of a person are always waiting in another room for a future that never arrives. Insight into these patterns is rarely enough to change them. Behavior shifts when the environment stops feeding the old routines. Real change begins when daily systems provide the structure that abstract conviction lacks. An effective mechanical step is to radically shrink the entry point of the work. Reducing a task to a 3-minute commitment lowers the emotional resistance alarm. This creates a reliable bridge between intention and action without requiring a burst of inspiration. Arranging the physical environment further reduces the need for constant self-negotiation. Placing distractions far away and keeping the tools of the work visible makes the desired behavior obvious and the bad habit inconvenient. The brain needs time to cross the threshold from low-effort stimulation into focused engagement. Learning to tolerate the friction of the first 10 minutes allows the nervous system to settle into the task, making the work significantly easier after the initial resistance fades. The goal is reliability rather than perfection. Overcoming procrastination is visible when action is no longer a hostage to mood. This quiet return of kept promises to oneself is how character forms in a new direction. A meaningful life consists of returning to the work despite the resistance. We build our days by refusing to let the pull of ease decide what we do with our limited time. We choose instead to return, again and again, to what matters.